This concept of the third shelf. One is the shelf in the retailer's store, the other is the shelf in the consumer's home. Brands and retailers have done a great job of investing billions and trillions of dollars into understanding the activity at both of these shelves. Understanding the motivating factors, that gets that consumer to pick up the brand off the shelf, and then understanding what enriches or makes that experience with that product in their home that much better so that they repeat the purchase. A lot of time and energy invested in these two shelves, but here's the good news, if you take it as good news. I think some people are terrified by it. Now there's a third shelf, and it can be anywhere in the world you want it to be. Where do you want your shelf? Right? Anywhere in the world. It can be virtual, it can be physical, you can put it anywhere you like. And we look around, we see some pretty creative things going on in the space. It's not all about pretty shop windows anymore, because this isn't a shop. It's a recycled shipping container in the middle of Brooklyn. You order the products inside, behind the bulletproof glass, with an iPad that's bolted to the outside of the container, and the goods are shipped to your house the following day. Right, so this is in the DeKalb market of Brooklyn, a really, really interesting take on how we now shift the concept of store and create a third shelf. The check-in economy, there's debate about, are we at the end of the check-in economy, or is it just morphing into something else? We've seen that Foursquare is now moving from pure check-in to more of a radar concept, where things that I've identified in my life that are interesting to me, I can be notified when those things are nearby. Right? So it's moving away from this conscious check-in sort of convention to something more robust. But there's examples of brands that are saying, forget about, kind of this whole check-in to let people know that I'm there. What happens when I check in? What's the experience, right? IKEA Spain made their third shelf the catalog. The catalog basically came to life through a mobile app where you could interact with the catalog, you could buy from the catalog. It became their third shelf. Frictionless sharing. How many of you have been victims of frictionless sharing on your Facebook wall? Yeah? So, okay, yeah, you're like, oh my God, everybody knows I read that article now? Or it's like you're watching the video Fat Guy Eats Sandwich or something like that, and it goes to your wall. It's like, oh my God, it's mortifying, right? So, the funny thing is, as much as we rail against Mark Zuckerberg and Facebook for privacy infraction and that, as much as we say we're all going to quit Facebook the next time they screw with our timeline or something like that, he knows something about us. And this is actually, call it Zuck's Law. It goes like this. Every year, no matter how much we despise Facebook, we share 100% more personal information online. Much of it within the boundaries of Facebook, right? So, he understands that where this is going is we have a natural proclivity to want to share what it is that we're doing, not just what we're doing and consuming digitally, but also what we're buying. And in order for Facebook to succeed, really, it needs to go from being the biggest social network in the world to becoming the biggest marketplace in the world. This year at CES in Vegas, 51%, I think for the first time ever, 51% of everything that was showcased was connected in some way to the internet. So yes, the LG fridge that'll monitor 5 diets of the people in your house, the washing and drying machine that will search the internet for the instructions to wash that difficult sweater that you have. It will actually scour the internet looking for the right way to wash that. Connected everything. So where is this going, right? What does probability tell us? Well, probability tells me that if I'm a detergent manufacturer, I want in that machine, right? So I want to set up a replenishment system with that machine. I want that machine to tell the owner when it's out of Tide and make that a simple decision. Should I order more or not? Right? We're already seeing Evian water has a little device that you put on your fridge, and when you run out of water, you hit the button. You don't even have to think about it. You just hit the water button, and water gets delivered to your door. Right? So replenishment is going to be a first initial use of technology like this. Replenishment shopping, take away a lot of those stupid small decisions that we go through day to day. Do we have milk at home? How many times do you and your spouse say that? Do we have milk? Maybe you won't have to talk about that anymore. You can talk about far more interesting things. The product itself is becoming the third shelf too. This was an application that I caught at DX3 in January, whereby you essentially you look at the product through your mobile device, in this case Tide, and it takes you to an interactive experience, which at the moment includes social networks, it includes download our mobile app, enter our contest, and all that stuff. But there's absolutely no reason going forward why we can't just order more of the product, using the product as the store. Makes perfect sense. It's also the gift with purchase. Right? So the cookbook is the ketchup. The ketchup is the cookbook. Right? So we're seeing these sort of dual purpose labeling efforts. And then, of course, there's Tesco. Right? In the retail community sort of gasped collectively when everyone saw Tesco, because this was really probably the best example of a brand that identified a place where it was contextually relevant for them to be, and they allowed technology to take them to that place, and it was responded to very favorably by consumers. So for those of you that don't know, this is the Tesco installation in the Korean subway, where they essentially put virtual shelves up and allowed people to shop using their smart device and have the groceries shipped to their house. So it's a remarkable installation, and it did very well for them. So within this context, what a lot of my clients and brands out there are saying is, where do we start? Right? Which of these technologies do we pursue? Understanding that some of them are going to have a shelf life that's very limited. Where do we begin? I think that the simplest thing to do is this. Begin by not thinking about channels. You've got to stop distinguishing between web and mobile and print and conventional media versus digital. Stop thinking about channels. Don't even think omni-channel, because everyone said, well, it's just all one big channel. No, it's not. It's not all one big channel, because if you take that approach, you're going to treat everything evenly. You're going to treat everything like it's important, and it may not be for your brand. We're down now. We're very close to a time where you have to start thinking in these terms. It's about locations, events, opportunities, moments, instants, where your product is relevant. And you need to use whatever means you can to understand that path to purchase for your consumer, whoever they are. You need to understand the journey between the two shelves and the moments of their life where your product becomes relevant along the path to purchase. That's really the key thing.